Hello and welcome to an episode of Conversations with an Investor. This week we have another massive guest. We've got Curran, the reigning Scotland's strongest man. He has just competed in Giants Live, and we are going to do a deep dive into finding out how he managed to get into the world of strongman. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So have you always been for Kirkintilloch?
Yeah, it's Lenzie.
Lenzie
from
Did Colin just know where Lenzie was?
Yeah, most folks didn't seem to, so I just started saying Kirky, and folk seemed to know Kirky more. So
right.
Yeah, I just say Kirky.
So you always been? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, I stayed. I don't stay in Kirky at the moment, or Lenzie at the moment.
Right.
But I stayed in my parents' house from the day I was born. Same house until 2 and a bit years ago. Me and my girlfriend moved in together.
Right.
We're in Yoker just now, but the plan's to get back towards Lenzie.
Aye.
But it's going to take some saving, I'll put it that way.
Were you, what were you like when you were young? Were you absolutely massive, or did
No. Well, in terms of height, like I was always the tallest kind of guy at school from like third year onwards. Like I was this height at the end of fourth year, I think. Then I stopped growing. Like I thought I was going to be 7 foot,
like,
you know. But
what are you 6'6"?
6'6", yeah.
Aye, that's fair. That's door frame height.
Aye, exactly. Yeah, most door frame height.
Aye.
Sometimes you get a surprise, and there's a low door frame.
That's right.
You take the skin off your head.
I've put a few doors on. I'm working out in my head. I'm like, a 1972 is going to give you a fright.
Yeah,
because you think it's fine. So you grew, but you didn't fill out.
No, not at all. I was just a beanpole. Like I think I was at this height at 6'6". I was 10.5 stone at one point.
Wow,
that was probably my lowest weight at this height.
Right.
But back then I thought, it feels funny saying it now, like back then I thought skinny was a good thing, almost. Like I was in school and it was like I had a wee waist, and I thought that's cool. I had like 28-inch waist jeans on, and I was quite proud of the fact that the skinny waist, which is crazy to think about now.
Aye.
But yeah, then just gradually over the years, there was no like 1 year where I put on like 5 stone or something. It's been very gradual.
What was it like? See, when you were playing, the natural thing for tall guys is always basketball. Like, did you get caught up in that trap?
No, folk did say to me, but I had no interest, so I never did it.
Would you try it, or did you just not even like the idea of it?
No, never even tried it. No? To be honest, no, I just didn't like the idea. Just never grabbed me, I suppose. But I played football when I was younger, just for like the local team, like Lenzie, from a few different teams, but from the age of like 10 to 16, you know, just as everyone kind of does. But
it's funny when you see these sort of strength athletes. I mean, Brian Shaw was basketball, and Phil Heath. Do you know Phil Heath was a basketball player?
Yeah, bodybuilder, which really he's short as well.
He's like what's he, 5'7", 5'8",
something like that. Yeah,
but he was national level basketball player.
Yeah,
like and you can see me. I don't know if you've seen his pictures from his basketball days.
Yeah, I was huge still.
Just but he's not got a big frame, but he's cartoonishly big muscles on this.
Like
relatively,
the delts were capped, which is one of the things that like folk. It's 8 years of training before you've got capped delts, but he was just doing basketball and he had them. So like,
he just looked like a set of bananas on his shoulder. Like, his shoulder, the delts were incredible.
That was like an early indication, I'm sure, of like, this guy could go pretty far.
I mean, I remember looking at his pictures and I thought, you know when you recognise someone,
and
I'm like, that's Phil Heath.
Yeah.
You look at it and you think, geez, it just must be something in that kind of, gene pool just makes them. It's funny because, I mean, basketball is not particularly like explosive sport.
Yeah.
Not particularly contact heavy. So it's funny how, the guys that have gave it a try have gravitated back in.
Yeah, I suppose it's bigger in America as well. So it's like, you could probably draw a correlation between even just playing like youth football over here. It's like, all these guys that played youth football went on to do well in other sports, but it's like, no, just everybody plays youth football. Maybe that's the same with basketball.
Are you any good at football?
I was all right. Like I wouldn't say it was anything special. Played centre back, of course. Only scored headers. No, I was okay. I dare say if I put the amount of effort into football that I put into strongman, I would like to think I would have done something, and I could have been a footballer, as I'm sure many folk could have been. But I never put any real effort into it.
How young were you when you realised that you were quite strong?
Probably not till I was like 22.
As long as that?
Yeah.
Never tried.
Because I wasn't strong. Like I was a skinny guy. Like I wasn't when I first went in the gym at 17. That's when I started playing football at 16. I tore the ligaments in my ankle 3 times in like consecutive games. So at that point I was just like, I'm done with this. Started the gym at 17, and I wasn't really any stronger than my pals, and then just gradually got a wee bit stronger. But even then, I wasn't taking training that serious until maybe 20 or just after that, because I got to a level of strength within like 6 months, and then it was like, right, that's my workout, and I go in and I just did that session, and it didn't matter how easy it was, or I wasn't aiming to progress, because I hadn't been grabbed, I hadn't been pulled into it yet.
So is that like you? Is it that you've built into becoming strong, or did you not push yourself to test if you were strong?
No, I definitely didn't push myself back then either. Right. The gym was like a social thing, and we enjoyed it. We wanted to be bodybuilders, so it was like we're watching Kai Green and stuff on YouTube, and they're all saying, you know, get the 5 kilo dumbbells and squeeze the muscle. It's mind muscle connections what matters. So like we were caught up in that, where that's really not the way you do it. Maybe it is once you're already 280 pounds of muscle, but yeah, you have to build the muscle by lifting heavy weights and progressing each week. And yeah, I didn't do that at first. It took me till I think it was 21 or 22 when I started doing a bit of powerlifting. Right. And it was one of my friends, Sam Gagan, he'd been doing it for a while, and he'd always been trying to convince me to give it a go. He's always thought I'd do very well with this. And I was like, nah. Like,
what made him think you would do quite well at it?
I don't know. And he's still there as well. Like, Sam was with me at the gym. I was training just before coming here. Right. He's kind of, the last year, he's come really kind of back on the scene with my training. He comes to sessions just to shout at me. Like, he'll come along just to support me and help me load weights and everything. What is
it that gets you going? Do you need somebody shouting at you?
No, I wouldn't say I need that. Like, it's more internal, but it's just like a lot of people. You might think somebody that's kind of went to the reasonable level I have has the motivation to just go to the gym and get it done. But I like to go with my pals. I like the social aspect of it as well. And if I know I'm just going to a cold gym myself and my sessions take 3 hours, I'm a bit like, can't really be bothered with this. Yeah. But once I'm there with my pals, it's
so there's that wee bit of holding you to account as well.
A wee bit, like, I would say as well, like, before me and Sam started training together again, like in the last year, I trained myself for 2 years. And a few years ago as well, there was like another 2-year spell I trained myself. And I didn't miss a session. Don't get me wrong. Yep. I always show up, but it makes a big difference having them there.
What would you say that you get out of being there?
Out of him being there for me?
Just other than the social aspect, is there anything else?
He's a good motivator. So it is specifically him. I've got other training partners, like I trained with Callum Crozier as well, who was second place at Scotland's behind me, a very close second. And that's the different benefit as we push each other in terms of we're both similar levels. But Sam, he's a good motivator. He knows what to say, and a lot of people don't know what to say.
What's an example? Give me an example of what he's saying.
Sam, I don't know. It's like we've had various kind of cues over the years with lifting. Or there's a saying we use actually all the time, and it's only me and him that use it really. And it's just do it or don't. And it's one of those moments where I might be sitting after between sets 4 and 5 on log, and there's the inner bitch, I suppose, coming into your head, and it's like, do I actually need to do this set? Like, and he'll just be like, well, do it or don't. And
what does that mean inside? Like, what's triggering? Do it or don't,
because not doing it's not an option. Like, if there's two, it's only 2 choices. Like, it simplifies what could be a complex situation where it's like, but do I do this because I've done enough volume today, or like, am I going to recover well enough for the next session? So we'll do it or don't.
But it's sounding like there's plenty of machismo of it, but it's like, well, the big guys that do it, the strong guys that do it. It's either you want to be it all or don't.
Yeah,
it's putting you there, isn't it?
It simplifies everything. So like we use that a lot.
That's good, because a lot of people, in the surface, you'd be like, do it or don't. You try and you go a wee bit further into it. You go, I can see where that is.
Yeah.
So how did he learn? How has he learned those buttons?
I don't know. We've been friends since we were 5, so right. I can say that's probably a large part of it. The other thing with the do it or don't as well, it's like you say it, and I'll say it to him as well as he says it to me. You say it in a condescending way. It's like I don't care. Like, do it or don't. No one cares. It's on you. You know. So like then you're only left with one option. Yes. So you've just got to do it. Yeah.
So is he from Lindsay as well?
Auchinlock, so like right
next
beside
to each
Lindsay.
other. So you're basically a beanpole. You're really tall.
Yep.
You're playing football. No idea that you're strong. You went to the gym, put on some Kai Green videos.
Yep.
good as any. You know,
Yeah.
one of the best bodybuilders out there. He's 280 pounds of ripped solid muscle.
Aye, at 5'6".
He's tiny, and he's probably as wide as he is tall.
Yeah,
ripped. And you're in there with the 5 kilos going with a mind muscle connection.
Yes.
Some point along the line, you've went, right, let me start getting serious about this.
Yeah.
So what did you say, 20?
Yeah, I'd say it's hard to pinpoint exactly, but I started powerlifting at 21, 22. And just
That's
before
right,
that, I got a bit more serious with training leading into that as well. But yeah, that
so
was,
powerlifting, is that the the one with the 3 lifts and you get the overall score?
Yeah,
so you add the weights together.
Squat, bench, deadlift, 3 attempts at each, and your total is where you place based on your total, basically.
Just raw power.
Yeah.
Now,
Which is a great thing for getting into strongman.
Yeah.
Because a lot of folk come into strongman and they've not got the static strength.
Yeah.
Powerlifting gives you that.
But there are a couple of things that I understand for people who don't get what that means in terms of there's the mechanical elements of how you're put together, and being strong is one of them, but how far you need to move the weight is another. So traditionally, when you want to move that weight as short a distance as possible.
Yeah.
At 6'6", you've no option but to move it a big distance relative to somebody that's say 5'6".
Yeah.
So Kai Green's got a lot less to move that bar, squat, deadlift, bench than you would, because your levers are much bigger. So like that's a sport where, I think that, and I might be wrong here, but if you're at the height that you are, you need to be very, very strong, because you need to move at that extra distance.
Yeah, you need a lot more mass, really. So like at my height, I would need to be a lot heavier, generally speaking, to compete in powerlifting, because it fills out your leverages.
Yeah.
Where like you might have a guy I would compete in powerlifting. It's like the over 120 kilo class, and so that covers anything 120. Somebody at 200 kilos in it, but at my height, I'd need to be kind of up towards the 170,
the higher
180, because you could have a guy that is 5'6" and he's 120 kilos, but he's filled out, and his leverages are going to be perfect for like a squat. But then you've got to find the balance, because if there's a short guy that gets heavy and he's great at squatting, he's probably not great at deadlifting. He'll be good at benching, but then if you're going to win these things, you need to be good at all 3. So yeah, it's finding a balance no matter what.
So what's the disadvantage for a shorter guy that's big on deadlift?
It's just it puts you in a mechanical disadvantage, kind of like in terms of the big belly,
right?
So especially if you're a conventional deadlifter, and your belly's going to hit your thighs before you're actually in position, and you're going to have to round your upper back down to actually reach the bar.
Yeah, just more back.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I never knew that. There you go.
They can try sumo as well, like in powerlifting. It's not allowed in strongman. Sumo deadlift, where you put your legs apart, grab the bar in the middle.
Yeah,
but again, that's a difficult position. I can't get into that position.
I've seen Anatoly. I like his videos. You've seen him, the cleaner. Kids on. He's the cleaner. He's like the ultra elite powerlifter, and he's like dead skinny guy. And he's lifting these things, and he seems to do the sumo lift quite a bit. And he's in there with the big. For anybody that doesn't know Anatoly, he's I think he's a Ukrainian powerlifter, and he goes around a gym in the UAE somewhere, and he dresses up as the janitor, sort of geeky, long beard, headphones on, sandals with the socks. And there's all these big buff guys and big power lifters, and they're lifting these weights. And they've got a sort of dismissive body language.
They'll fail a deadlift or something, and then
he'll go along and pretend he's cleaning, and he'll just pick up the bar and move it out the way, and they're in complete disbelief. And it's amazing, because that's where I've seen the sumo lift being done. So what weight would you have been when you were getting into powerlifting?
Well, at my first competition, I was 106 kilos.
It's still quite light for your height.
Still definitely. Like looking back at the pictures of me then, like I thought I was big then. Do you know what I mean?
Especially when you cross over, when you get in that three figure range, the kilos.
Yeah.
You've hit the big time.
Aye. I thought I had certainly then. Like I think as the years went on, I thought I was huge at 17. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then the ego slowly gets chipped away, or maybe it's the body dysmorphia kicking in. Yeah. And now I was in the gym tonight, and I was like, I feel tiny. Like, but I'm 138, I think, just now. Yeah. So you can't trust yourself when it comes to judgment of your own physique, I think.
And it's weird. It's weird because I don't know if you've ever had this, but you ever trained with somebody that's really big but not that particularly strong relative to their size.
that's, I mean, a lot of bodybuilders are strong, but bodybuilders generally are, they train for size. It's for aesthetics, and they're not training for strength. Like, you're going to get strong doing bodybuilding training anyway, but you're not going to get strong as a powerlifter. Yeah.
Because it's that sort of raw, like all out max effort. It's that sort of explosive, like do or die attitude to a rep. Where bodybuilders just aren't there. They're not doing it. They're not in that environment.
Aye, I must say though, I don't envy bodybuilders for. I think they need to go through quite a lot in terms of, one, the training intensity. Like, the volume that they do is far more than what a strength athlete would do, and their diet is also far more restricted. Most, especially open class, like strength competitors like myself, it's more about eating enough calories. It's more about trying to force feed rather than restrict yourself. Like, I would not fancy doing a restrictive diet.
How have you found like your digestion and stuff, trying to get the food in?
All right, generally. Like, I'd say I don't have a big appetite. So
do you not?
No, it's always been, I mean, relatively speaking, like, I eat between 5,000 and 6,000 calories a day, and I can get that in fairly comfortably. But I'm always I've been stagnant at around in the 130s body weight for like 3 or 4 years now.
Right.
Which shows as well, you don't need to get heavier to get stronger necessarily, but like, I would like to get heavier. I'm struggling with eating. Even
look at like Pudzianowski. I mean, Pudzianowski looked like just a huge bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like he'd walked off like Venice Beach and just started picking up these sorts of strongman equipment. So it shows that it's not like you need to, because the idea is mass moves mass.
Yeah.
So the bigger you are, the more you'll be able to move. That's generally the real kind of broad strokes, is the bigger you are, the more you'll be able to shift. But look at Pudzianowski. I mean, he was just in incredible shape.
Yeah.
And he just looked in the speed. Because you look at some of these events that you're taking part in, I mean, the cardiovascular part, I think's the bit that people don't really get how hard the cardio endurance bit is. There's one, I mean, how many times have you seen somebody that's unbelievably strong and they can't get up the stairs?
Aye, yeah. I think with the cardio element of strongman, for me, it's more, maybe it's because my cardio's all right generally. Like, it's okay, it's not great, but it's more about the recovery between events is where that comes into play.
Yeah.
Because certainly for myself, and I'd say most of the strongmen, you can go for 60 seconds on an event. You can go all out. Like, cardio would only come into it if it's very poor, and you're gassed after 30 seconds or something.
Yep.
Most folk can go for the 60, but then you're done in, and you go back and you're waiting for the next event, and you might be back out in 10 minutes, and that's not enough time to recover if your cardio isn't great.
Yeah.
And I actually discovered that recently at the Giant Show in Glasgow, because that was the quickest competition I've ever done. Like, everyone always talks about the speed of the Giant shows, and I thought I understood it, but you don't get it until you actually compete at it.
When you say speed, you mean the gap that's in between the events?
Yeah.
How long were you getting between the events?
It's hard to say because I wasn't timing it, but at some events it felt like 10 minutes. Like, certainly I remember after the deadlift, I come back to like the athletes area and I'd get my deadlift suit taken off, and you can't breathe when you're in that. That's tough. So I was huffing and puffing, lay down on the floor, and the stage manager came in with his headset and he was like, "Connor, you're up on Conan's," and it was like 8 minutes or something. And I was like, what am I going to do? It's the most horrible feeling of like, you need to go out and perform, and it's like, I am not ready, but you just need to do what you can, and I'll improve on that for next time. So that was a huge learning curve.
Yeah. So you were 106 kilos.
Yeah. You
go for your powerlifting event.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was fine. I benched more than I squatted. I had bad knees. At the time. So yeah, I say that like it was probably just me being a bit of a bitch looking back at it.
It sounds like it sounds like the bitch was in charge of that.
Yeah.
That reply.
Time, yeah. So I squatted 140 and I benched 150. And then
you were 140, 150 for bench.
Yep, yeah. I just had one attempt on squat because I was like, my knees are bad, so I'll because you have to do something to get a total.
Right.
Otherwise, if you bomb out on squats, they call it, if you don't do any, then you're out of the competition. So I had 140 squat, 150 bench, and then my deadlift attempts were 230, 245, and 260. And the 260, I locked it out, put it down in that, and I get 2 red lights, which means it's a no lift. And even looking back at it now, I think it was ridiculous. But like, that was my first 260 deadlifts. I was buzzing, and then they were like, no lift. I hadn't locked my knees out apparently, but
It was a rough call.
I would say so, yeah. But we're past that now.
Aye, but it take you a while to get over that one.
Yeah. I still watch it back. It's a guys put it on YouTube. And I still sometimes show folks, like, look, that's what powerlifting's like. Like, strongman, you can hitch it up and everything, but powerlifting, it's got to be textbook, such a clean rep.
So it didn't put you off then?
No.
Did you do? How long did you do the powerlifting for?
About 3 years as well.
Right.
3.5 years, yeah. And I think my best lifts, even they were decent, but they weren't overly impressive compared to maybe a lot of the strongmen now. But like, I squatted 290, I benched 195. I think my deadlift was 317, or 320. I think it was. So there were decent numbers in that.
3 years, you went from bitching 140 squats. I've got bad knees.
Yeah, more than doubled it. Yeah.
What was your total? Your
290.
290
was the squat. Yeah.
On a squat.
Yeah.
Your knees certainly got a bit better, but in the interim, didn't they?
Yeah. I don't know what that was. Yeah.
290 is a good squat at your height.
Aye, it's okay.
Especially really strict form.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Because it's super strict. I mean,
it's the depth. And so it's IPF was like the federation that I would compete in, and they are kind of known for being the strictest. So like the depth has to be clear.
What's the benchmark for the depth?
It is hip crease below knee. So it's hard to kind of explain without showing, but when you squat, you wear a singlet, and the reason is so they can see your hip crease. Yeah. And so they can see, like, if your bum comes off the bench, when you're benching, that'll be a no lift as well. So you can see a hip crease there, and it's got to be below the top of your knee in the bottom of the squat. So effectively, this position here is where, that's how low I'd have to get in the squat, this kind of knee angle, which was a challenge at my height, I would say.
It's back to that, you need to move that much further down. Yeah. Because your hips are higher up, your legs are longer. You know, it's the whole mechanical thing.
I counteracted that by doing a low bar squat. So I'd get the bar as far down in my traps as I could. I don't even have the mobility to get the bar there anymore, to be honest, that I have to do high bar now. Yep. But it was so far down my back that I would squat down and like lean forward with the bar, so that I was almost folded in half at the bottom of a squat. But that's what it took to get to that point where the hip crease was below. And then I could bounce back up out the hole and just upper back and just push it back. Like,
people don't realise like how, I know it's hard for people who haven't done a heavy squat, but the other thing that people don't get when you've got that much weight in the bar is the bar's actually flexing.
It can do.
I mean, it's like it's got that kind of. I don't know if the powerlifters have got bars that don't flex that much.
They use a stiff bar, so like it's got minimal flex, but they're still a wee bit. Yeah. Especially like more at the higher weights, I would say. Like, I mean, there's guys in IPF that were squatting 400 plus, you know, and you can certainly see when they unrack it and they step back, it's undulating a wee bit. But yeah, it doesn't really affect you on that bar until you get to higher levels. Like, that was an Alico stiff bar, it's called, and it costs like, it's over $1,000.
Is it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've just used the normal kind of Olympic bar.
Yeah, Olympic bars bend. Yeah.
I mean, you can feel the flex.
Oh, you'll feel that from 100 kilos onwards on an Olympic bar, probably. Yeah. But they're built to flex.
Are they?
Yeah, if it's for Olympic lifting, because I don't know much about Olympic lifting, but what I do know, when it gets up to your shoulders up in the rack position, like you want that wee bit of bounce,
a wee bit of spring.
Yeah, and when you do the dip before starting the jerk, I think they call it, it assists you. So obviously you time it so that with the whip, when it's on its way back up, that's when you initiate.
Try and get under
press, it. Yeah, get under it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you 3 years at the powerlifting.
Yeah.
At what point do you think you want to give the strongman a crack?
I always kind of knew I wanted to get into strongman at some point.
Did you?
When I say always, I mean by the time I started powerlifting, I knew that was kind of a means to an end. Just because
as early as when you started the powerlifting, you knew you had a goal in mind.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was a concrete goal in terms of, like, it was an idea of like, I think I'd like to do that at some point. Like, I'll do this just now. A lot of my pals were doing powerlifting.
Was it as vague as that?
It was, yeah.
Was it?
It was. I never watched Strongman when I was younger. Like, there was no, I know a lot of folk watch it on the telly, like in the UK, like growing up, it's on Channel 5 at Christmas every year. But I almost wish I had. You know, I'd probably be even more appreciative of getting to these shows now. Not that I'm not. I'm very, very appreciative of it. But no, it was never really the dream at that point. And then as powerlifting went on, and I kind of thought about getting into it. What happened actually was I tore an oblique muscle when I was powerlifting, and that like put me out for a few weeks, probably like 8 weeks or something. And as I started to come back to deadlifting, I tore it doing deadlifts. I come back to deadlifting, I started using a deadlift bar, which is what they use in some powerlifting feds, but mainly in strongman.
Mm-hmm.
And I was liking the feel of it, and I was like, I might just keep working up on this deadlift bar. And I was getting stronger and stronger, and I was like, well, maybe now's the time. I'll just make the transition to strongman. And there was a log in the gym. I was training at a gym in Cambuslang at the time. There was a log, and I was like, give this a go. And then I heard that the Scotland's Strongest Man qualifier was in like 4 months, I think, at the time. And I was like, I'll train the events. I'll just train up for that. That got cancelled because of lockdown, the first one. So I ended up not getting to do it. But that's when I first started getting into strongman.
So what point did it go from like a fancy having a crack at strongman to you thinking I might have a serious run at this?
I think I actually mentioned this to you in a message about how I set realistic goals.
Yeah,
so
I
you didn't like it?
Nah,
yeah,
that's mince.
I know. So that's what I've always done, and I stick by it, to be honest, because so basically what happened was my first Scotland's final. So I qualified.
Hey, let's hear this because I'm interested, right?
Okay.
What I'm interested in here, Connor, is for everybody. Then we've had back and forth the messages. Connor said that he likes to keep things realistic, and I'm of a different opinion from that. And the reason that I'm of a different opinion is that the things that are realistic now at some point in your life would have been unrealistic.
Yep.
So you've achieved and accomplished pretty astonishing feats that are realistic in your life now.
Yeah.
But you could only go back a few years and they would have been massively unrealistic. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a big believer in your goals need to be just the other side of realistic. But it seems that you have done well.
I wouldn't disagree with saying just on the other side of realistic. But there's folk that like. A lot of folks said to me when I first started with strongman, and I was 10th the first year, 10th at Scotland's Strongest Man, the first year I competed at it. And that was the goal I set. I was like, I want to be top 10. And I sneaked in and I achieved that goal.
Yeah.
But folk were like, no, but you need to be saying you're going to win it. You've got to say you're coming in to win it, like, because that's how it works. And it's like, no, because I was never going to win it that year. Like that, it just was not going to happen. There was no chance, and I was aware of that. I wasn't put down by it. I wasn't disheartened. And I was aware that the next year when I come back, the goal's going to be higher again. But for that year, top 10 was the goal.
So back it up. We're at the log. You're at the log at Cambuslang.
Yeah.
You've tore the oblique.
Aye.
You're like, I'll just train these events.
Yes.
Qualifiers coming up.
Yeah.
Lockdown happens.
Aye.
What happens for then?
I trained in a friend's garage through lockdown. Saying that, actually, that was a few months into it. Sorry, a couple of months into it. What I did at first was I went to this farm that I drove by that I saw loads of rocks sitting outside, and I went and chapped his door and I said, can I take some of these stones? And he was like, yeah, cool. And I stuck them in the boot of the car, took them to my mum's back garden and trained with them. We also, me and my pal Mark McQueen, he was a IPF world champion powerlifter. We drove to Largs. The day before lockdown got announced, we drove to Largs to get stones from the beach. And the next day it was in the paper, it was like disgraceful scenes at Largs. Like, not us specifically, but there were so many folk there because they knew the lockdown was coming.
Yeah.
We thought it's our last chance to go and kind of grab a few things. So yeah, I trained with stones in the back garden.
You can tell the truth because we know the government are a bunch of lying toss bags anyway.
No, that is the truth.
Good. See, what size of stones? I mean, like there's people that chuck a pebble in the water down at the beach, skim a stone.
Yeah.
Like, how big is the stones you're picking up?
It's hard to judge the weight of them. Like, in terms of size, they're probably like that size. You know, let's say.
Can you imagine like somebody walking down the beach? This is my last day before lockdown. Yeah. You know, we're all packed, and there's this big tall guy, big unit.
We kept our heads down. We didn't bother explaining to anyone. Like, some of them were rolling them for like, because you can only park so close to the beach.
Yeah.
And they were heavy enough that you couldn't just pick them up and walk them to the car. So yeah, it was a wee bit of a task to get them to the car. And
you're just saying that all the way along, I'm going to be 10th. I want top 10. I want top 10. I'll not drop this. I'll not roll it. I'll be top 10. So what were you doing with the rocks? Like, how were you training with them?
I would just, like, stone to shoulder was kind of the main thing, or I would like run in circles with it as if it's like a loading medley. There was some that were light enough that I could kind of do some pressing overhead. from the farmer, I actually got a couple of curbs, and I was just pressing them as well. And that kept me going. Like I say, it was probably a month, maybe just over that. Then I trained in a friend's garage for a bit. But then a guy messaged me from a gym down in Kilwinning. And it was the first time I ever went to that gym. I ended up training there for 2 years. And he was just like, you can come down here if you want. Like, we'll let you in the gym. And being a taxi driver at the time, I had maybe a wee bit more freedom than most in terms of driving about. So like, as long as I was in my taxi, I kind of felt if the police pull me over, I can just be like, I'm working. And that was allowed at the time.
Yeah.
So
if I just happened to pop in here, then fair enough.
Aye. So I drove down to the gym in Kilwinning and I trained there. The police came in there actually a couple of times, but we ended up, me and one other guy, we had letters from, there's a company like Ultimate Strongman, and we were meant to be competing at one of their shows in a few months. And they gave us a letter saying they are athletes training for this competition. And the police were satisfied with it. So that kind of ended up giving us a license to train either way. So that removed any sort of worry. So that was a big advantage because a lot of folk couldn't train, or maybe they trained in secret, but I know a lot of folk couldn't train at all, or they were in their back garden.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people. I mean, I think the thing being is at that point in time, there was a lot of people trying to do the right thing, but it became very obvious very quickly that, you know, what was being said by the government was now becoming farcical. And you were like, not really sure this is sort of, you know, I don't know how much credibility that we can give this, especially if you even look at that situation. You've got, hey, look, you can train if you're a professional athlete, but if you're not a professional athlete, you need to stay in your house, and we'll give you Just Eat vouchers. You can't go to the gym, but you can eat this takeaway food. And this is where the bizarre sort of stuff came. And it just, I imagine there must have been a bit of stress relief in terms of like just having that weight off your shoulders.
For being able to train.
To go and train.
Yeah. Because I mean, by that point, I've always been very into training. By that point, I was getting really into it.
And you applied for, like, is this your first strongman contest that you're going for at this point?
By this point, I'd never competed. So like it was still just kind of that vision of the first competition, which is just a qualifier, you know, nothing spectacular. But I was nervous for it. I did feel kind of pressure coming from powerlifting. There was a few kind of guys saying, like, look, Connor will do well. He's coming in this year. He'll take the strongman well. So I did feel I had to kind of live up to that a wee bit.
Right.
Looking back, I shouldn't have felt any pressure. Like, get into the Scotland's qualifier, it's not, the qualifier itself's not a huge event. So I shouldn't have been worried. But we all do that. I mean, folk going for novice competitions their first time with comparatively light weights are going to be scared because it's a new experience, and like, that's fine, but you do it and then you realise it's not a big deal and you move on to the next one. How
important was going from being like having that powerlifting background when you got there?
That was huge. That was the only reason I could go in and be 10th straight away.
Right.
Because like 10th in itself, that's no mean feat. I don't think to be kind of 10th strongest in the country. You definitely need to be very strong to get to that point.
Yep.
So I was coming into it from a good place.
I've been along to Scotland's Strongest Man events, and I was like, man, these weights are big weights.
Yeah.
You would think, hey, look, it's Scotland's Strongest Man, it's going to be a good level. I was quite taken aback by how high the level was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the difference is like, for instance, I would say that when you get to the very, very, very top, the guys can be very close together in a lot of events.
Yeah.
And with the Scotland event, there was maybe a bit of a wider gap between the guy who was the worst and the guy who was the best.
Definitely.
So it was a bigger gap.
Yeah.
But in terms of the level, I was really surprised at how high the level was in terms of the fitness, the weights, what they were shifting. I thought, man, this isn't a kid on kind of like easy in. This is up there.
I think Scotland's Strongest Man's one of the best national competitions in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a very high level. Like the guy that runs it, Stuart Murray's been running it for years, does a really good job. He wants it to be, because the guy that wins it gets to go to Giants Live, goes to Britain's Strongest Man, and he wants it to be that when Giants Live look at Scotland and they see what you had to do to win it, they're like, yeah, this guy deserves his invite.
Made the cut.
There's no dubiety. So it must be difficult for the guys that it's a big comp in terms of competitor numbers. I think there was 22 or 23 this year
Mm-hmm.
at the Scotland's final. So like you say, the guy that was last, it's a massive difference between him and first. Like a huge difference.
Yeah.
Too big a difference, actually. I think there needs to be a smaller final.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the thing. There was a couple of guys that competed at the competition I watched, and I thought, and it's one of those things you think, if they got in their own head, is it maybe just a too big a leap from like where they're at now to this sort of jump? And it's that crazy situation, because at that baptism of fire, I think if you can get over the psychological part, if you don't get in your own head that you go, hey, I don't deserve to be here, what you go is, hey, look, I now know what I need to achieve.
Yeah.
I now know where the bar is.
Aye.
So, I'm maybe here and the bar's there. I know how much you need to work to get to that level.
Yeah.
And you can only find that out by going and doing it. But if you get the psychological part where you go, hey, look, I'm not strong enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not heavy enough, that starts to... in the mind.
No, when you get the opportunities, you have to look at it from a positive light, definitely, because you could go into one of the competitions, be one of the guys that places lower, and they can't really lift anything. Like they'll zero the deadlift, zero the log, maybe get 2 stones or something. But they do need to just use it as a kind of barometer for where they need to get. Don't look at first place. Yeah. If you finish 23rd, don't look at first and say I'm so far away. Look at 15th and say I can get there in a year. And then look at 10th, say another year I'll get there, small increments. Yeah. That's what I think.
So like, have you ever, like getting back to the realistic goals?
Yes, yeah.
So.
Well, I'll tell you what the goals I set in the past few years and what happened. So that year, the first Scotland's I wanted to be top 10 and I got 10th. And then the following year, training had went very well. And I was thinking I could maybe sneak onto the podium this year. So like the upper goal is 3rd. And I finished 3rd. And then coming into this year, which my 3rd Scotland's, I was like, well, I'm not going to be aiming for 2nd. It's like 1st is the upper goal. Yeah. And like it ended up, the closer and closer it got, and the more, the deeper into the training block I got and everything was going well, it got to a point of, that was the first time ever where it was like nothing other than 1st is acceptable. Mm. But I feel I earned that right from the previous 2 years. I didn't come in saying I was going to win it. Because even the year I was 3rd, I wasn't close to winning it.
No.
The guys that were 1st and 2nd were quite clearly ahead of me.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, getting into this year, it was a very different mentality. If I was 2nd this year, I'd have been devastated.
Yeah. Now, how much of that was the training and how much of that was the confidence? Because the other thing, I think people miss this, but when you do something, like you've set that goal of being, I want to get in the top 10.
Yeah.
You get there, right? That result in itself is good. The training's good. The result's good. You've done the work. You show up. You do it.
Yeah.
But the confidence where you've made a big step. I'm a beanpole from Lindsay who's went along to the gym because I tore a ligament, and I've started to pick up some weights with my pals, and I'm watching a Kai Green video to being the 10th strongest guy in the nation in my first contest after picking up boulders off a beach in Largs and borrowing a curb off a farmer, and I got in the top 10. That's a huge boost to your confidence.
Yeah. I suppose I never really look at it in those terms though, because this is maybe to a fault. I don't really give myself credit very often at all. And I don't know, it's worked so far. And not that it's a tactic, I don't intentionally do it. It's maybe just my nature. Mm-hmm. But like, even winning Scotland's this year, it was like, could have done this better, made a mistake in this event. Doing the recent show, it's like so close on various events to decent points. But it's always just a case of just go away and get better at it. There's always kind of justifications for why things maybe didn't go exactly how you wanted, or was this close, but it doesn't matter. Well,
it's these things like we were speaking before we were on air, a lot of the times that I have conversations with people and they'll generally come asking some particular bit of advice about something. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, it's always goes back to mindset. And I've seen plenty of athletes over the years, and I can see what it is that I can see the framework of what they're doing. Yeah. Generally, it is they're trying to ascend, they're trying to get a better result. They're highly critical of what they've done. Yeah. And they give a lot of credit to what someone else has done. And then they don't understand the relationship between you're sort of doing the same thing, but you're being highly critical, but giving credit to someone else. And then it's that psychology part where you go, do you know
that
if
can be a problem.
you know, it's that, how do you fine tune that? Because they're like, you're like 95% of the way there. You just need to, hey, look, you know, maybe have a look here, maybe have a look there. And just like to, what was the guy you trained with? What's his name?
Sam Gagan.
So Sam has understood your psychology and he's thrown it out to you. He's putting you on the spot. It's binary. It's 1 or 0. It's either do or don't.
Yeah.
Who are you going to be? Who are you?
Yeah.
And you step up, and he's got that. Hey, I know what dial to turn here.
Yeah,
and it's in that sort of thing when you see a lot of these guys who are elite level. I mean, how many times have you seen someone in all these competitions that you've done where they have got the potential and they have got the ability and the psychology is not there?
Yeah, a few cases, but usually I think in those terms the psychology element is it's the discipline of whether it's training, nutrition, all the standard things that they don't have. You can see talent in someone, but they're not willing to put in the time and work on the small things. It's not necessarily like on the day that they're coming in and they're negative and that they're thinking, not that I've seen anyway, I'm sure that's going on in a lot of the guys' heads, it's just invisible to me. But there's certainly a few guys that have got a lot of potential that you can don't work at it.
You can see that crossover because it's like, it doesn't matter what your endeavour is, right? The endeavour is, you're looking for a result. So, you know, you want to become bigger, faster, stronger, richer, you know, more successful, fitter, leaner, whatever that, fill in the blank. Doesn't matter which one you pick. So you want a better result, and that result is whatever your particular thing is. And you're trying to climb a path to get there. And it's these sorts of things as the path to get there has got steps. And listening to you, what you've done is like, hey, look, I've got an idea in mind. You know, I want to try this strongman thing at some point. It was really, really vague. And then you've gone into this powerlifting thing and you've started to make the path a little clearer, take those steps, you start picking up the stuff. Now it's becoming really clear. There's a competition, I'll sign up for it. You go to the qualifying, you know, you're making those steps, but that is every day. You need to put a block in the wall if you're building, so like building the wall. You need to put a brick in every day. Like it's not like, hey, you can come back to it later on. Like that's that time that you've lost. It's time that you're not putting bricks in that wall. Just to what you're saying about the discipline, you need to put it in all the time.
Well, that's folk are always kind of looking for the secret when it comes to getting stronger. It's like usually it's new folk they'll ask you, and it's like, well, what do you eat? And like, well, what kind of training do you do? Like, do you do a top set and do you do this for your back offs or this or that? And it's like, forget about all that. It's like, do the basics, go away for 5 years, do that, and then come back and ask me again. And when you come back in 5 years, I'll say go and do it for another 5 years. Like, that's really what it is. There are all the wee kind of 1% things you can add in, but it's just being big on the basics. Like, that's what will get you far with it.
So, see, when you were doing your, back to like, I'm trying to get a picture in my mind here of how you thought about approaching becoming Scotland's strongest man. Right, so you want to win the competition, but initially, year one, one, you came 10th, year 2, you came 3rd, year 3, you were going for the win. And you won. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
At what point did you go, first is in sight? Did you have it at year 1 where you go, look, nope. I think 10th is where I'm at, but first is where I want to be? No,
it was maybe in the back of my mind.
Give me numbers here. It's like 10%, 20%.
Like,
is it like a wee tiny picture in?
At that point it was just a small picture of it. It's hard to quantify it in terms of like a percentage of how much I was thinking about.
Like, give me a number. It doesn't need to be right, but I guess
year 1, when I was 10th, the amount I was thinking about winning it was genuinely 1%.
Right.
That year it was 1%.
Now,
and then
tell me what point it was 50-50.
Probably it was after my second year, so after I was podiumed.
Right.
And it was probably immediately at that point actually when I podiumed I was like, right, well, next year there's a good chance, but there's still guys that could beat me and this and that. But as that year went on, it was the confidence just built really, and it was more and more. It got nearer to the 100%, and I'm not saying 100% confidence of I'm going to win, but it was 100% of like that's what I'm going here for. Like, I'm 100% going here with the goal of winning and nothing else.
What did your inner bitch ever show up between year 1 and year 3?
Yeah, loads of times. That happens, yeah.
What sort of stuff was what was it saying you had bad knees again, or like what's the sort of
No, not
internal chatter?
Like more just maybe skipping things that you shouldn't. So the first thing that jumps to mind for me is years 1 and 2 of Strongman, between when I placed like 10th and 3rd, I would skip back off. So like back off where you'd work up to your top set, say on a lift like log, and then you would maybe drop the weight and you would do another like 3 sets just to kind of get volume in. And I would find myself being like, I can't be bothered tonight. I'll finish that. I'll move on to the next exercise and try and get out the gym quicker. Not that happened regularly, but it happened enough that it bothered me and it became an issue, and it doesn't anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I'd call that the inner bitch as well. And that.
What was it like? What sort of stuff's it saying inside? I talk about this often because the inner bitch is hard, right? I'll tell you why the inner bitch is hard. I reckon, there's hermetic principles where they reckon everything in the universe, Connor, has got a male and a female energy. Well, I reckon your inner bitch is female energy because there is nothing that can twist the screws in your soul harder. It must be a female energy. It's got all the intel, it remembers all the stuff, right? And it knows all the weak points, it knows all the right buttons to push at all the right points in time.
Part of what brought it out in me is me and my girlfriend Hannah got together 3 years ago.
Yep.
And it was around that time. She was there at my first Scotland's final where I was 10th, and she's been there at every one since, of course. But that was part of me rushing away from training. It was like, I'll go and hang out with her, I'll see her before we go to bed, stuff like that. Like, and I have kind of had to work at that, I won't lie. I think it's something that maybe folk do go through, where it is just prioritising. And you need to be selfish if you're going to achieve a kind of spectacular goal. I think that's one of the things as well. And
it's important that, like, when you're doing these things, it's important to have the right partner, because it's much easier if they're bought into your dream. It's back to that whole setting a goal. Like, in fact, I've sat down with my missus and I've said, look, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And you explain it to like, here's the things that we're going to sacrifice. Here's the the hours. We can't go on the holidays. We can't do. You're going to make these sacrifices.
Yeah.
But here's why. Because this is what I'm wanting to do, and I think that these sacrifices are worth it. And that, I think that bit of, hey, look, this is why. It's much easier than, I don't know why you're not spending the time with me. I don't know why we're not going on holiday. I don't know why we can't,
It's easier when there's a reason behind it. And I certainly would say that Hannah's been so supportive. Like, she has barely complained at all. When I say barely, whenever she has, it's been very, very minor, and she's just kind of made me aware, because there's been a lot of long periods of time where we haven't spent much time together. We live together, but we're not spending much time together. And I probably had to be made aware of that, because you can always do better as well. Like, I don't care. There's always time. There is always time. You can make time for somebody, and you should. So that's something I've been working on recently as well.
Be a man. Yeah. Like, you got to give them something to moan about. Like, they would be bored. Well,
I'm good at that. So,
just keep up. Like, that's what I mean. Is like, and it's different if you're, it's one thing if you're down the boozer, getting smashed with your mates and that sort of stuff, and hey, look, you're out busting your ass to try and see how far you can go. You're going for the world stage. It's not like you're not putting the graft in, and it's not for a great challenge.
I think that's just something that the person you're in a relationship, they have to buy into that, and they just know that it's going to be a reality of the situation, that it's not going to be necessarily a normal relationship, I suppose. Just in terms of time available.
Who wants normal anyway? Normal is boring.
Yeah, I know.
It's exciting. I mean, like, how many relationships do you go and cheer your man on, and it becomes Scotland's strongest man?
Yeah,
like,
that was one of
who wants normal.
That was one of the big things I won. I was so happy that I could do it with Hannah there, and I was able to. I was a bit. I'll say this actually. I was a bit annoyed at the end of Scotland's, more with myself, because on the 5th stone my tacky went. So I couldn't lift the 5th stone. The tacky was gone. You've got no chance of lifting it if you don't have any tacky. And at that point, I knew I'd done enough to win, but I'd always visualised it in my head for the year up to. I'd visualised slam dunking the 200 stone onto the platform, lifting it up high and just going boom, sticking it down, and then it's like the win is guaranteed. Then I could just walk over to Hannah and my family and just be like, there it was worth it. But as it turned out, my tacky went, I couldn't load the 200, and I was like, better not celebrate just yet. Like, was that enough? So so that moment was kind of taken, but that was nobody's fault.
You said something that's quite interesting there. You said you visualised it.
Yeah.
Right. You do that. Have you done that a lot?
Yeah, always. Yeah, every day. Like when I visualise goals in terms of like what the next goal is, I'll visualise achieving it. But I'll also visualise my training every day. Like, see, before I go in for, say, for example, I've got a big deadlift set of like 5 reps or whatever, I will think about it all day. Or maybe even from the week, as soon as I finish the previous deadlift session the week before. And I only ever picture it going well, I would say. And I think that's something I'd imagine you'd appreciate, that mentality of like, that's what I'm very positive. Like,
my inner clapometer's giving it. I'm clapping you. I'm liking it. How did you find out about that?
I didn't. It's just something I kind of intuitively did, I would say.
Always, like, how long have you been visualising
with
outcomes for?
Maybe that's a good question, and I've not really fully thought of that, because the answer I was going to give there is I've thought about it since I did powerlifting, where it was you're aiming for certain numbers on lifts, and every week you know what the following week's going to be. But in terms of achieving general life goals, maybe I didn't do it up until that point. And
the way you said it, I thought that's so natural to you that it's like you've went into your cutlery drawer and picked out a teaspoon.
Yeah,
it was natural. That's what made me think, how long have you been doing that? Because you get people and they've just like, you know, I've started to visualize, and it's, you know, it's like something new. They've not quite got the grips of like the boundaries of how, when to use it, how to use it, how to apply it properly.
I think I'd never had the passion for anything that I have for this until I found it. So there was nothing that I would think, you know, that I'd be really obsessing on every day and thinking about until this.
How does that fit with powerlifting? Because powerlifting wasn't your ultimate goal.
No,
you said it was a means to an end.
It was, but at the time I was in it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I was doing, and I put a lot of effort into that as well.
I think we're finding out how you've managed to get the results you have, because the realistic bit wasn't fitting for me. I'm like, people don't get these types of results with just being realistic. There's always some combination. Like, see when you see someone that's a rising star, there's always particulars about them. You know when you meet someone and you go, there's something about them. Yeah. There's little telltale signs that they've got. Things like they'll visualize outcomes, they'll go the extra mile, they'll have an ingrained dedication. Yeah. Some of them are just naturally brilliant. They will, you know, the Midas touch, everything they touched turns to gold. Yeah. You get people like that, but you can recognize there's things like, say for instance, you're not a naturally gifted athlete, like the ultimate in genetics, for instance. Yeah. Right? They've just got it. They were gifted with the particulars, but there's also the people that are like 99% and they need to work that extra bit, and they'll have little bits about them, they'll have little particular things about their character, and visualization is one of them.
Success leaves clues. That's another kind of phrase I like.
Does you can see it. I mean, I'm sure you'll see it, and especially if you've seen like up and coming guys, they'll come in, you go, oh, there's something about you. You know what I mean? Oh, you can tell there's. And it's one of those hard to quantify things where there's some folk that you see and they're kind of talking big and they're saying, I'm going to win this and that. And you can just see it's like, you don't have it. Like, and it's hard to say when not talking about, you know, an individual example or that, but it's just clear that they don't have it. But I'll tell you what they don't have is one thing, having bravado, saying that, you know, you're going to win it. Yeah. But they're not visualized a putting a 200 kilo Atlas stone slam dunked into a podium. They've not got that vision.
Or maybe they've not visualised the steps along the way. Maybe they're just thinking, maybe right now they're lifting a 100 kilo stone and they're thinking, oh, I'll lift a 200. It's like, nah, you've got to earn that, right? You've got to work the steps along the way. And I think that's what I mean when I was talking about realistic goals. It's like earning the right to maybe vocalise what your new goal is, because even right now, like, maybe you would say to me, like, the goal now should be get to World's Strongest Man or get like top 10 at Worlds or something. That would be the next kind of crazy goal. And that's in the back of my mind. But I'm not, back of my mind, but I'm not going to run about shouting it, and I'm not, as a lot of people do, they'll be on Instagram and it's like, I will get to world's strongest man no matter what, you know, I'll die trying this and that. It's like, no, maybe say like, I'd love to get to worlds once you've placed 6th at a Giants Live event and you're a couple of spots away from getting to worlds. Earn the right, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole thing. I mean, it's like that sort of, you need to have that little burning ember where you go, you know, that'd be good.
But that's all it is at this point.
You need to have it in your, you need to have it in your sights. You might go, look, I'm you know, 1,000 miles away from it. I need to start making the journey towards it.
Aye.
And I'll see if I get there.
Yeah.
But how do you know, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, like, for instance, it's like, say you wanted to win World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
How would you work it out? How would you work out what you needed to do?
From the situation I'm in right now?
Yeah.
Well, the next goal would be to qualify for Worlds in the first place, which is you podium at a Giants Live, or you maybe get top 5. If you get top 5, you've got a chance of getting invited.
Yeah.
So like that's the next, and really that is what my next goal is.
Yeah.
Like if I can get top 5 at a Giants at some point in the next couple of years, then that would be great. And then once I say you get to Worlds, then it's like, right, well, get out my qualifying group. And it's, you know, it's all the steps. I'm aware of what the steps are, and the steps are in my mind, but I'm only focusing on climbing the ladder at Giants Live shows just now, because that's where I am. I place low at that one there, and it was that was the highest level show. That wasn't just a normal Giants show. That was huge. So
that was stacked.
Yeah. So it's difficult to say where I truly stand looking at that.
But you had the current, the current World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
You had the 2-time World's Strongest Man, Tom Stoltman.
Current Europe's strongest man.
That's right.
The Luke Stoltman, who was Europe's strongest man 2 years ago. Matt Ragg, who was top 10 at Worlds this year.
What a performance he put in.
Oh, he was amazing. Yeah.
And so quiet.
I didn't expect that. And like, I knew how strong he was. Don't get me wrong. I expected something amazing from him. Right. But like, he really showed like he can win Worlds one day.
I
think so, yeah.
Wow.
He can. The only difficulty is Tom's there. So like, Tom is a bigger freak.
Yeah.
You know, when Tom's on form, I don't think there's anyone in the world stronger right now.
Well, it's interesting because I was in the lounge before when they were Colin was doing the interview bit, and I'm used to being around big guys. You know, I train with a guy who's 22 stone, cartoonishly big muscles, huge, just a freak in nature, just awesome to look at. So I'm used to being like big guys, and it was like I thought, like, you seen like Terry Hollins is tall and he's big, he's lean, and I thought, and there was nobody that I thought, you are unbelievably massive. And it wasn't until Gavin Belton came in.
Oh, Gav.
And I'm like, he's just a like he looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
The mullet, curly mullet, the tash. And just cartoonishly big.
Aye.
And then who else was it came in?
Gav's lost like 40 kilos.
Has he?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's the heaviest ever Worlds competitor. He was 217 kilos at Worlds like a couple of years ago. He said they got him down. He was telling us this at the show last or 2 weeks ago. It was. They got him down to, they call it the Boneyard at World's Strongest Man, where it's all the kit's down. You can go get a wee feel for it kind of before the event.
Yeah.
And they were like, Gav, we need you down to weigh you. And so he get down there, and there was loads of folk kind of just standing about waiting to see. And Gav was thinking like, oh, they weigh the athletes, and this is for putting, whether it's on the telly or whatever. And it was, no, they just wanted him down because they were like, we need to know what he weighs. And it was 217.
That's just massive.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Nearly 500 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to shift. I mean, it's one thing being 500 pounds, but to shift and carry weights, heavy weights down a course.
Aye. It was a disadvantage for him at that point.
We look at even like I remember it was Gavin and Tom. Tom came in. Tom's big, but who really stood out to me was Luke. Right. Luke looked so full. Like, see if you ever seen a carb loaded bodybuilder?
Aye.
Like, I was like, how have you got that full?
Aye. He's thick, like front to back as well.
Yeah.
And like, I think that it just shows that when you look at him, it's like he's one of the best log pressers in the world. And
see
it's
that?
clear. Like,
I mean, I was in the very front row.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm literally like one step and I'm on the arena floor.
Right.
Connor, how he got that 200, was it 200 kilos? He pressed 200 on his third attempt.
Aye, yeah.
How he got that, because I'd said to Gary, and I was like, he gave it the first go, and I was like, I don't think he's going to get this up the second time.
Yeah.
I was like, because you know what it's like, the effort that it takes to push that up.
Yeah.
You give it your all, And once you've let that match, that's it. He gave it the second go, and I'm really impressed he managed to get as good an effort. The third go, I was like, there's not a chance.
Yeah.
And see, when I can't remember who the MC was, said that he's about to become a father, and he pushed it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a moment.
Yeah,
like, that was one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen, and I think you can only respect that. But you've took something that's really heavy and you've tried to push it, and then you go on for a second time, you're completely spent. To go on a third time, that was minerals.
Yeah,
that was some balls in him.
He obviously felt that it was there at the point. Like there must have been a bit of him. I was like, no, I can get this, because 200 kilos for Luke it's a weight he normally can press. He's had shoulder issues leading up to the competition, I think, but I certainly would not be attempting a max log press more than maybe twice. You know, if you maybe misgrooved the first rep or something, it was a technical thing, I can get a go at this. If you feel it again, it'd be like, nah, that's it.
Well, you know what I mean? But, the third time, and I was like, the heart that took.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like, you know, you've got the inner bitches sheet that's in full volume, you've got the pressure, and it's going to be hitting you with, there's more events to come. Save the energy in the tank. You didn't get it up. You don't want to risk injury. It's going to be machine gunning you psychologically. And you got to remember, like, he's not like Iron Baby, where it's just one. I'm here to press this log and that's me done. He's got the whole show to go. So there's that bit of preservation where you go, look, it's maybe not just in our bitches. Tactically, you need to think this out. I thought I was very, very, very impressed with that.
Yeah, and Mitch Hooper did the same thing. I think it might have been was it the 200 as well? He'd failed it, and then he eventually got the press. But like, it made me question. That was one of the things I'm kind of maybe not learned from the show, but I'm still thinking about. Is that an indication? Because these are the guys at the top, and they went for it more times than I would have. And it's like, does that mean do I need to learn from that? Do I need to put more of an effort into it? But it's difficult, because it's like, or is it just it was a technical misgroove a couple of times, and they knew they could get it the third time? Or is it just I'm going for this and I'm going to keep trying until
I think it's psychological, because there was no part of logic that said that should have happened. That was driven by emotion, and that there's I done a book review on Jocko Willink's Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual, and he says that to get ultimate performance out of yourself, it takes two opposing forces. The opposing forces is when logic says you should not be able to do this. You need that emotion to drive you forward. Right? And emotionally, when you're ready to crack, you need stone cold, hard logic to say, you go. And the guys went up. And I mean, Mitch Hooper, what a freak of nature he is. 140 kilos, could run a marathon, and is in there with the best in the world. Especially how skinny his ankles are.
He is the best.
I don't know if he's got gigantic legs and normal size ankles.
He's got big legs, I
mean, his quads are gigantic. And what an athlete. See how quick he moved. Didn't move quite as quick as you, but he was quick.
Well, Mitch Hooper did. He was on the sandbag. He beat me by, I think it was less than a second. But he made a mistake. So like, he was much quicker, but he dropped a bag and then had to load it up. But all the same, I was still a bit gutted. I was like, I don't care how I beat the world's strongest man at an event. Even if he drops a sandbag and I get ahead of him, that would have been cool.
But it's good to be close.
Aye. That was one of the events that it certainly gave me confidence of I can go up against the best at this and not look out of place.
So you won the Scotland's Strongest Man. What happened after that?
So that was only a couple of months ago there, and it's been crazy since. And like I keep saying I've been living the dream since, because since I got into Strongman, like Giants Live is it's the epitome of strength sports, really. Just the level of organisation, knowing it's televised, the scale of the show, which you saw yourself at the Hydro with 8,000 folk. It's pyrotechnics, cameras everywhere, like MCs, really professional MCs. Like it was a great show, and so. After Scotland's getting my invite to a Giants Live show, that was like a really special moment. But that was to Britain's Strongest Man, which is at the end of January. You win Scotland's, you qualify for Britain's. So I'd have a few months to get ready. But I'd looked at the last couple of years and I saw that Scotland's Strongest Man got invited to the Glasgow show as well. And they'd released the lineup, and there was, obviously I wasn't in it. It was like a couple of weeks away. But I thought, I'm going to make myself available for this. and I went down to Borough Bridge, which is where Giants Live's based, and that's where Darren Sadler's gym is. He's one of the owners of Giants. Met him a few times. I trained with him a few times. I go down to see my pal Luke Richardson, that's England's strongest man. He lives down there. So I went down to the gym, and Dan came up and he was like, "Oh, look, well done on your, winning Scotland's and that. We'll be seeing you at Brits." And I was like, yeah, can't wait. I was like, if someone's pulls out of the Glasgow show though, like, I live 5 minutes down the road and I'll train for it and I'll be ready. And he was like, "Oh, cool. Like, thanks for letting us know." And then I went away, kept training, and just under 2 weeks before the show, Luke actually phoned me, my pal Luke, and he was like, "Right, you're going to get a call from an unknown number in like a couple of minutes, and it's Darren, like, you're in the show." And I was like, "No way, you kidding?" So right, I'll go. And I sat looking at my phone, the number come, and I was like, "Hello?" It was all right, Connor.
What did that feel like?
That was another kind of moment I'd visualised so many times, like getting called up to a Giant show. So it just kind of felt like a dream a wee bit. I come off the phone and I was kind of shaking a wee bit and that, and I was like, "Oh, who'd I tell? Like, what do I do now?"
But I mean, look at what you've done there. You've went to their base.
Yeah.
You've made that. You've
Proactive. Yeah.
You've said, "Hey, look, I know that it's Britain's. I know that I'm not in the lineup.
Yeah.
A lot of people have left it there.
Yeah.
I'll just do what I need to do. I'll get to Britain's." You've went, "Hey, look, listen, I'm going to train. If anybody pulls out, I'm there."
Yeah.
That's
Put yourself in the position.
That's it.
Yeah. Because I have no doubt that if I didn't go down there, I wouldn't have got invited. Someone else, when someone pulled out injured, the next guy would have got it.
I talk about like a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
The people like us don't get it. I'm not good enough. I don't really feel I'm in the right place. All that sort of stuff. That was great. One of my guests, Phil, double amputee,
right,
struggled with imposter syndrome all the time. Tells this great story. Went to Canary Wharf, this huge, massive boardroom meeting. The who's in there,
right,
and he's like a cyber security specialist.
Okay.
Really, really good, but absolutely like choked with imposter syndrome.
Right.
He's sitting there going, "I hope they don't ask me anything." Like he's like looking down the roster of the people out there. He's like, "I do not belong here."
Yeah.
So much so he built it up, Connor, to the point where he's physically drenched. He couldn't take off his jacket because he's completely under this. He's like a wetsuit, soaked with sweat. And he says within 5 minutes after listening to these people, he says, "I knew none of them had a clue what they were talking about." He was like, it was all for nothing, but he was in his own head.
Yeah.
And it's like that
just
thing.
Putting himself in that position, that's what he wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yep. And that's the thing. You've got to be in the room.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in the room and see where you are.
Aye.
And it's like that thing. You could have just went, see if you was like, "Well, guys like me don't get there because I need to go to Britain's and do it." You put yourself there. You said, "Hey, look, I'll be ready." And look what happened.
Yeah.
And that's the steps that you need to take. If you want to get somewhere, part of that's visualizing. And somebody would have said to you, "That's unrealistic to expect that."
Yeah.
No.
That's true.
Always being the right side, the other side of realistic.
Yeah. I'd had that in my head though. That was always kind of maybe an idea or what that I'd had for if I ever get my foot in the door at Giants, I'll make myself available, and like I'll make them know like I'm ready for this show. I'm ready.
Darren Sadler was a good athlete.
Yeah,
he was like
he's the lightest guy ever at World's Strongest Man, I believe. I think he still holds that. I think he was. I might be making this up. I think he was like 110 kilos at World's Strongest Man.
I remember when he was 110.
Aye.
He was 110. Like if anybody doesn't know who Darren Sadler is, he's this sort of. He's short for a strongman.
The pocket rocket. They called him.
Unbelievable power. And I remember he had to wear the big platform boots because they are giants, and he's a normal sized dude.
Yeah.
Well, normal height dude. I mean, he was massive. Like he was huge, hugely strong, muscular. Looked more like a bodybuilder than a strongman, and could shift. And I remember seeing him. He had to put the big boots on so that he could reach up to put the Atlas stones in the plinth. And I remember watching him, just thinking, what? I mean, just talk about the David amongst Goliaths. And putting it out. It was like, good on you, go on, son. It's like
giant killer. Yeah, like, he held the record on Conan's wheel until last year.
Did they?
Yeah, which you wouldn't think as well, because it's usually the kind of taller guys do well at it. But he did it. Yeah,
this goes to show, superhuman.
Deadlifted 400 kilos You know,
It's incredible.
which like the height's one thing, but that body weight, because weight does move weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at all the biggest deadlifts that have been done, like Eddie's 500 and Thor's 501. Like they were 200 kilos, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like pulling 400 at 110. Like especially back then as well, when it's becoming more normal, and that when you see it's possible, that more and more folk achieve it, obviously. But back when he pulled 400, like it wasn't far off the world record on the deadlift, you know, and he was 110 kilos. And yeah, crazy.
Whose lift was more impressive?
Out of Eddie's or Thor's? Eddie's. Yeah, like I certainly don't have any sort of kind of favourites between the two of them, but looking at the facts of what they both did, because Eddie put 36 kilos, I think, on the world deadlift record at that point, and it would only ever go up by 1 kilo a year, and even then it was ambitious to expect someone to be able to break the record every year. And then he stepped up and was like, I'm going for 500. Nobody believed, or very few believed he could do it. Mm-hmm. And he did. It was crazy.
I've watched some of his interviews, and I think Eddie gets a bit of a bad rap because a lot of people think he's a bit immature and a bit childish and a bit impish with some of the stuff that he does. So I don't think they see the steeliness in terms of his determination. He's another one that I thought, you're really good at visualizing things. Yeah. The depths he went to, I think he went to a hypnotist as well. Yeah. He says he went to hypnotize. Like I don't know exactly the details, but I remember saying something about like he was, you know, if his kids were in danger or his family were in danger, like he was going to dark places to get himself ready to go and, you know, lift this weight.
I think it's something a lot of folk do, and I do myself as well, actually, like visualize almost kind of bad things or things that would get your adrenaline spiked, get you into the fight or flight mode, because it really does help when you're going for a max lift. And what it does is, maybe going off on a tangent here, but
go for it.
It switches off any sort of doubt in your mind of like when you're going for a really big like one rep, as Eddie did with the 500, you can't have it in your head of, oh, my hamstring's a bit tight, like, because as soon as you start thinking about that, you're going to protect your hamstring and you're not going to be able to lift it. Like you need to go into it with reckless abandon, and you can only do that when you're not thinking about anything else other than just being just that lift, just hyped up, and it's like, I'm going to put absolutely everything into this at any cost. And that's what getting hyped up does. And Eddie took it to the next level, obviously, with these experiments, I'd say, with like going to a hypnotist, and obviously it worked for him.
I like it. You know, if I've been lucky enough to meet some like incredible people, like real, the top cream of the crop, and the thing that's universal would be, whether depending what industry they're in, they all share commonality, and the thing that they have in common, Connor, is they will hit upon their like perceived glass ceiling, and they will poke around that and look for the edge. They will find a way through it, and they're looking at anything, breathing techniques, ice baths, massages, hypnotherapy, self-help books. They will do what it takes. They're like, they don't have it in their mind that this is glass ceiling. They have it in their mind, how do I get through this glass ceiling? And they'll go looking through the whole, like, what's the tools? I'll try them all. They're prepared to go there, and there's other people who go, oh no, it's a glass ceiling. And it's that difference of where are you at? What side are you at? Is it, no, I'm looking beyond this, or is it that's where you should be? And it's that sort of thing that you can see in people where you go, that's the difference between the really, really good and the exceptional. They have that, we will find a way through this. Just like Eddie was like, hey, look, visualising that stuff, going to the dark place, the hypnotist, like, just found a way to do it.
There's another phrase I like, and it's like, only those willing to risk going too far can possibly find out how far they can go. And that, I think I associate kind of Eddie Hall with that, because he pushed it so far in so many ways. Like he did, he risked his life to an extent going for that lift in terms of all the kind of unhealthy things he had to do to get there. And he did it, and it paid off, and nobody would have, if he hadn't done that, Thor wouldn't have pulled 501 in the coming years. Like it would have still been thought as impossible. Like the record would have kept climbing up 1 kilo at a time. 500 kilos still wouldn't have happened. As kind of, in fact, it definitely wouldn't have happened. So there's a few of the strongmen, like
I recognise when they've got like who's got the mentality and who isn't.
Yeah.
There's a few of them. I'm not going to name the ones that their mentality fell short because I like them. I think they're great, but I can tell that they're in their own head.
Right.
Like I know that they're in their own head.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, look, you can see it in their body language.
Oh.
I'm like, you're already beat before you go and do this.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean about like Luke's log lift.
Aye.
I was so impressed. It just not the weight or anything like that. It was just what that took to do it. And I love the examples. Like, see, when you talk about the reckless abandon, like, are you prepared to put it on the line? Are you prepared to give it your all? Like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
See, when you're in that position, see, when you're in there in your mind, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when it's like, we're going to redefine the limits. The limit was there, but that's there. We're going to see where it ends. And it's asking yourself that question, how far can I go?
Yeah.
And it's prepared to put it all on the line. And I love seeing it. And with the same token, I've seen guys in competition, I'll not name who they are because they were at the event. Right. They were at the event in various capacities. But I remember going, I know that you're in your head, you're not going to beat this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can see it, and it's great. What's great at the example is that you're seeing the guys at the absolute edge. So at the absolute edge, you can see it's more visible because they're at the ragged edge. Now, it's incredible and absolute credit to them that they're at the ragged edge, but there's that line, and the line is who's going to be the greatest and who could have been the greatest, but they couldn't get the bit in their head.
Yeah.
And you can see it at that level. And it's great because when you monitor it, like I think of like the up and coming guys, because if I'm working something out, if I'm working out an investment, like say I've got a plan, a goal, I'm looking at a business, I'm looking at an investment, I'm looking at what it could be. I'm looking at who is it that it's likely to displace. So say, for instance, I want to buy a company and that company is looking to be the next Gymshark, for example, right? I'm going to work out, right, where are you at? Where would you like to be? Like how far close or far away is that journey, right? And I'm looking at who do you need to beat? What are they doing? How are they doing it? What have they got? What makes them excellent? What's got them there? Also, what are they missing? What's the little tweaks that they can make? And I've got a catalogue. I'm like working through the list of this is why you're astonishing. This is everything that should be replicated. Here's the little things that I think somebody's missed or these are worth trying. Yeah. And now you've got now we know the gap and we've got the shopping list of what we need and we've got the little secret so that we'll keep the ace in the sleeve. And that's when you look at the guy, anything at all, you're going, yes. Yeah. And that's when you're starting to visualize if we were here and we were competing and, what's the little thing that you've not tried? What's the little technique? What's the little tip? Yeah. It's having that, you go and what are you starting to do? You're starting to visualize. You're starting to visualize what it's like. If we were here and we were competing at this level and it was head to head, what have you met? What's the little thing that if I was you, I would do to improve that you haven't spotted yet that I'm going to use my advantage so that when we become head to head, I'll know.
If you spot it, tell me.
You want me to start comparing notes?
I wouldn't mind.
We'll do the analysis on it. So who in your opinion is, Mitch won and recently they've competed and Tom won at Giants Live.
Yep.
We went to the next event and Mitch had won.
Yeah.
So that's one apiece.
Yeah.
Do you think it's an event specific thing? Because obviously they've got different talents.
Yeah. It always is with Strongman. Event selection really matters and the best guys are good at all of them, but obviously there's going to be slight differences between and that's how you decide who's the winner. Tom and Mitch they're very close on a lot of things. I think that's the thing. So if Mitch decides to stay in Strongman for a long time, because I know Tom will, if Mitch decides to do that as well, there'll be a back and forth for years. I think I don't see one of them really pulling ahead, but I would say in a classic strongman competition, if you just pick the usual events, more or less, Tom is the stronger person. So and obviously he's Scottish and that, and I'd like to see him win it. But I genuinely think that Tom, he's just a bigger freak, and in strongman that matters. So I see him. I think it's more likely he wins Worlds this year than Mitch does, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch won it.
I think Mitch Hooper is. I could not believe what an absolute genetic freak of a human being that is.
Yeah.
When you see like his power to weight is off the chart.
Aye.
Like he relative to his weight, it's unbelievable what he can lift.
Yeah.
And you look at Tom, and Tom's a freaky nature himself, and you just think, but he's like, Tom's got that way about him where I don't know if it's maybe not showing up on TV, but when you see it, like he is so in the zone before he goes to lift.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I remember thinking myself, I've not seen this on TV. I've not seen that kind of switch has been flipped.
Aye.
You're there. You're ready.
When I noticed that the most, and it was a cool moment as a fan of Strongman as well to kind of have access to see this right before he went out for the stone run, because we knew he was going to do something amazing. Like, he's the best stone lifter of all time.
Yeah.
They knew stones. Like, I was hoping we'd see him one motion the 200, and I was just standing at the bit just before he comes out, and I was just looking at him. And, you know, he's like top off, so you can fully kind of see the size that he is, and he was in the zone, and it was just a very cool moment of like, there's the greatest to ever do this specific event, about preparing to go out and do something that no one else can do. And it was a lovely moment to just be able to stand and watch that happen in front of me. Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Because that's like, he's the guy, he's the one you're like, if I'm going to go and work out how to become the best, you're probably a good example of what I need to study.
Aye.
I don't know what's in. I'm going to go and get some of the food for their butcher,
Yeah.
right? Because whatever it is that they're getting, it seems I've never seen anybody so carb loaded and so full looking than they do. Luke just looked incredible.
Do you know what Tom does? I know he does it at Worlds. I don't know if he did it before this competition. He eats Five Guys before the competition, and like I do that as well. Again, the other kind of success leaves clues. Like, it kind of put me onto it. I eat a Five Guys the day before. But it's the most calorie dense like food you can get. Like, it really is. It's the most calorie dense fast food you can get. And Tom would eat 5 burgers throughout the course of the day, and, you know, chips and milkshakes at every meal. And I don't know if they've got a very high level nutritionist that recommends these things to them. They say this is what you need to do for your performance on the day. I don't know if that's something about the filled out aspect of them, but
I don't know if it's. I mean, I followed bodybuilding, so I mean, I understand the carb loading. So that it was the first, like, you know, like it leaves signs.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm seeing. I was right. I was right at the point where they were being interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Not by. It was just by chance. I was standing looking at the arena, and Colin had come in and was like, "Oh, we're going to do the interviews." I was like, "Cool." And I was like, "Well, do you want to do it there?" He's like, "Yeah, that sounds good." So I mean, everybody just came through, and Gavin looked big. Who else was there? But all the guys just looked good. They looked strong, looked full. But when Tom and Luke had came in, I was like,
something different.
What have you done?
Yeah,
like you've came in, like just noticeably fuller everywhere. And I loved Tom's sort of like, it looked like he'd done an oil filter change in his car, like the blue shorts, you know, just not a care in the world. Boy was there. He wasn't fussed. He's like, I'm showing up. We've got a job at hand, a task at hand, and it will be done. By golly, it was done.
It's kind of funny seeing, like, when we first got to the arena and everyone's just wandering about, maybe having a wee look at the kit. And it was just after we did because you practice the walkout, just after we did that, we're all standing on the arena floor. And like Tom was over talking to Luke and somebody else, and Colin Bryce is, you know, one of the announcers, one of the owners of Giants Live as well. He was talking to us all, and he was like, "Right, guys, you know, you need to make sure you go out like just at the end of your surname for the walkout, because you can't see anything, the smoke and lights, and that's when the light's going to come on and the explosions are going to go. End of your surname, you go." And like Tom was just over just chatting away, and like you could hear him giggling and that, and it was like, it reminded me of just like a schoolboy almost. Because I was standing, you know, my first show, I'm standing there like, "Yes, Colin," like, "Okay, I'm listening." And Tom has just done it that many times. He was so relaxed. And Colin, he was like, Tom, you listened?" So I was like, "Yeah." Well, I'm like, "What did I say?" It was just quite a funny moment.
He's a good character.
Yeah.
You know, from what I've seen him, the two of them look good. I mean, a great representation for Scotland.
Yeah.
You know, they've set a high bar for you, because if you're going to be the guy, if you're going to be the world's strongest man, they've set the bar high for you.
Yeah, it's good to have that in your own country to look up to as well. Like, I dare say if they hadn't done that, Scottish strongman wouldn't have progressed in the way it has in the last few years if Luke and Tom weren't there. But it's just having that there, seeing what's possible, like, that pushes you on. They've brought it up for everyone, definitely. Probably UK wide, not just Scotland.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, even like I would even say, Eddie Hall as well. I mean, he was like, if you look at the British scene, and I mean, I think it spills over. I mean, a lot of people, think they divide, but I'm not that way inclined. There'll be that camaraderie. There'll be that sort of needle where you're having a go at each other, and it's the Scotland-England divide. But
not so much in strongman.
When you're there, you've got to respect the guys that are doing. Like, it's a bit like, I've never lifted the type of weights that you guys are lifting. But I have complete respect for how hard it is, because I know that I've lifted.
You got a reference point.
I've got you've got a measure of. I know how difficult it is doing these things for these guys to go out and do this event after event after event. Like, even if you could get 75% of the weight here, that would be the end of your day. Like, to do the 6 different events, it is mind-boggling, because it's just that sort of boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
and you think that's what makes it really impressive. Add the cardio element to it. Add the different events. Adding the how awkward some of the stuff is. You just go, man,
that's strongman.
It is a different level. And that's where you can admire, because you do have that point of reference. And you just can't help be in awe with some of the things. I can't imagine what it's like when you're aspiring and you're coming up through the ranks and you're front and centre and you're going out and using these, like, you're physically carrying the stuff, physically lifting it. You know how hard that is. And you see somebody just do a bewildering performance because you've got an even closer reference point than anybody else. And you're like, wow. Matt Ragg on the deadlift.
Yes, 8 or 9 reps he got.
And they're cartoonishly big.
Like, they're
weights.
so awkward as well. Like, that was a real wake up call. I've completely changing my deadlift training for future Giants Live comps. So it's a fixed axle. So the whole thing rotates as one. The bar doesn't spin. So that means that when the big globes in either end rotate, it pulls the bar away from you. And that's why when I went for my 4th rep, I had it up here and it started spinning towards me.
And it's going to spin out,
And it was spinning out, and it pulled down. Like, it'd have been a fight anyway, but that's what made me lose the rep. It's also off a deficit. So it was very low, and it was so hard to get down to the bar. I never expected that. So I'm going to be training off a deficit going forward.
So how much further down do you think it was?
1 or 2 inches. But
it's enough at that weight.
When a normal deadlift's 9 inches.
You say somebody go like 1 or 2 inches below your sweet spot and squat, they're going to know all about it. So it's the same with like these huge deadlift sort of. I take it the bar's much bigger.
Oh yeah, it's a Coke can.
It looks really, and I'm sort of like trying to make a measure. That looks really thick.
The deadlift was a real learning experience, and then after it as well. So I was done. It was 3 reps. I attempted my 4th, but the deadlift suit on and that, I was so knackered. I went back. I was on the floor, got my suit off, and I was just trying to catch my breath. And Mitch Hooper came in after he'd done his event. He'd had 7 reps. He just kind of walked in to like the athletes room and just kind of looked at me and just went and sat down. But like, I was lying there, like, and I finished deadlifting, 5 minutes ago or something. He just did 7 reps and just walked in and he was fine.
What did you think?
That was another moment of like, oh. Like, so that's what I need to kind of work towards.
And do you think he was just cool as a cucumber, a bit of gamesmanship going on there, or
not with me? He didn't have to worry about me in terms of the competition. Let's not lie.
He doesn't know who's watching though.
That's true.
You're in Team Scotland. You could be feeding info back in.
I think there was a bit of gamesmanship from him in a few events. Like,
was there?
Yeah.
What one?
See with the Conans. Maybe some will disagree with me, but he said he just did a wee run on the Conans and he just stopped at the point where he wanted to stop, because it was good points. And it was true, it got him in good points and it helped him towards the podium. But he was looking very casual on the way round. But the way the Conans was sitting, it fell right down. And then he placed it down, But to me, it looked as if he placed it down just before it went. Do you know what I mean? Like, he played it off as like, placed it down and then just kind of strolled off.
Playing it cool.
But it's like, I think you were pretty near your limit there. And you were just like, right, now I'll just make it look easy. But that's, at the top level, that's something you've got to take into consideration. Like, you've got to get in the other guy's heads and make them think, he's he's finding this easy. Well, that was hard for me. So next event, he's going to stand a good chance of beating me.
Who's good examples of who was good at it? Who was good at it? And who have you seen where they got affected by it?
The gamesmanship. To be honest, it probably happens more at Scotland. Maybe
This is it.
Yeah. Like I see it more at Scotland.
Right.
Maybe it's because I know the guys and like you're training with them even leading up to it, and you've got each other on social media. I've seen folk post a deadlift set, and the weight they say that they lifted isn't actually the weight on the bar. You know, and they'll play it up as like, it's like I just did this set. And if it was true,
and they just mismeasuring it, or is it like fake weights?
No, it's like, it's not fake weights. It's more like you can't see the plates, but if you know the gym very well and you can identify plates based on certain characteristics, it's like that's not what you say it as. But they'll do it as like to get folk worried. Like they're doing it with the intention of psyching someone out, but it does the opposite when you realise what
can backfire if they don't fit, if it's figured out. If they're rumbled.
Aye.
That's interesting.
Yeah, things like that. Like,
because I guess that's the thing. I mean, like there is that psychological element. I mean, I remember like it's hard to tell because it's all sort of like boxing fight build up. How much like they're talking trash, and it's like, well, really, how much do you actually hate each other? Because you seem to kiss and cuddle and make up pretty quick after punching lumps at each other, and it seems to be that contention, which I guess is sort of good for the entertainment value, but. You know, there's that psychological element. If you can get in somebody's head and you start to mess them, get them worried, get them doubting, you go, well, there's maybe a bit of an edge here.
Yeah.
You came up across anybody that's tried to directly do it to you?
Not that I would say any direct examples. I'm sure there have been cases, but I maybe just don't pay attention to it too much.
Some of them out there might say that's good gamesmanship, because even if you did, you're not letting on that you're not giving away.
You don't notice it. Yeah.
You just say, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And that's even worse, because you're giving no fuel to their fire.
Yeah. I'd say that the only kind of gamesmanship I'd participate in, and I don't really consider it gamesmanship, is you only show your best on social media, like a lot of folk do. But you know, I could have a bad couple of weeks of training, but as soon as I have a great deadlift set that I don't think anyone else can do, it's going up. And I've done it a few times where there's like competitors they've posted their set, you know, preparing for the comp, say it's a deadlift, whatever, they hit X number of reps with a weight, and they're very pleased with it, and everyone's clamouring over it. And coincidentally, my set that week's 10 kilos heavier, and it looks easier. I'll put it up immediately. If I see they've posted their video, I'd be like, well, I'm going to post mine right now. When it wasn't the plan, it's like you put that up. Oh.
There's one for the bank.
Yeah.
Good. I think it adds to it. I mean, it's good because you could say, you know, the gamesmanship is good if you get in their head, but they might also push them on. So it's that gamble.
Yeah.
You know, because somebody might be like, it works if you create the doubt.
Yeah.
But if somebody goes out and smashes, goes, I'm going to double down.
Yeah.
But then you've just made you've made your bed. You need to lie in it.
Yeah.
So it's that balancing act.
Most of us, the vast majority of Scotland's, we're all friends, and like I say, even the kind of top guys, we train together quite often.
Right.
So we're good friends. But there was a good example on the first event at Scotland's this year. It was a deadlift for reps. As an extra long bar, so there's more whip to it, and it was 325 kilos for reps.
Yeah.
And I know I'm the best at that. And my training partner Callum, we were both like kind of neck and neck on that event, but we were so far ahead of everyone else. So we had a wee tactic, and this happened in Strongman as well, where like we thought we could have probably done 11 or 12 reps if we had to, but the nearest second place would probably, or third place or whatever, would probably only get 7 or 8 reps. So there's no point in killing yourself going for the 12. So we're like, well, we'll both just do this number of reps. We'll be joint first, and we won't knock ourselves, and we'll save energy for the events to come. But we probably spoke about it a bit too loud, because one of the guys, again, one of our friends, Chris Beetham, we were the 3 that were up last in deadlift.